listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Tomo, you magnificent bastard, I read your book. I drink your milkshake.
How dare you?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Captain.
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 Captain. Captain. Captain.
No, not yet. Don't pass out on me yet.
Terrain. Pull up.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue.
Of course you realize this means war.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Spell it with a K. A mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the Capitol building in downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets, where, late at night, you can hear the death of common sense and its concomitant wail as it wafts from that petrifying edifice. And late at night, when I exit the plush, resplendent, sumptuous, palatial, and effulgently bulbous SHR studios, I'll be smelling the odoriferous stench of sulfur, brimstone, and evil emanating from that mentally destitute, columned structure aforementioned. It is 2020, ladies and gentlemen. The time is nigh, the epic is now, the leftist madness is afoot, and the criticality is an imperative. There is no law, no rule, no tradition, no fact, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, intent, or tradition, no bit of normality that the Democrats, leftists, and American media maggots won't break, kill, slice, mutilate, bury, eliminate, ignore, butcher, threaten, explode, incinerate, throttle, or expunge in order to wrest the reins of power and keep America subjugated in perpetuity for unicorns and fairy farts. Make no mistake, 2020 isn't truly about Democrats or Republicans. It's instead about the fight against socialism and ultimately communism, systems responsible for only the deaths of at least 100 million people in just the last 100 years. We stand to lose this country not from without, but from the enemies within, due to the keening and purposely cultivated ignorance of the masses, no less than our U.S. Constitution and its Bill of Rights. Our very freedoms and liberties are at stake, and I will not stand by and watch this nation devolve, or its values, mores, and morals be cavalierly subsumed by those with no interest or care in her success. And make no mistake, this nation is at a tipping point, because when we fail, the rest of the world follows suit. When freedom and liberty can no longer be found in the United States, what nation now exists to step up? That's the call. That's the question, don't you think? I do. Tonight, in the first hour, we've got Jeff DUNETZ. In the second hour, everything we couldn't fit in the first hour. And trust me when I tell you that Jeff, he's been here before. He's a fabulous guy. You know him. You love him. He owns one of the greatest blogs on the planet. And even the people in Zephron say that, yeah, we go to lidblog.com all the time. Welcome, Jeff. How are you, sir?
I love your new opening.
You do?
I love it.
Okay. Well,
I just had to tell you that. It was really good.
Well, thank you.
I was listening to your opening on my computer before you called, and I figured out why my phone didn't answer before.
Oh, because it was off?
No, it was on, but I had the button that said "Don't let people, don't let calls that aren't on, phone numbers that aren't on my list, on my contact list. Don't let them go through." I was getting like a lot of weird calls from like Romania.
Well,
and places like that.
Huh, Romania.
I'm scared of vampires.
Me too. And isn't that the place where the lettuce comes from?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, I'm not a.
Some of the lettuce.
I'm not
a lot of it also comes from Greenland. They call it iceberg.
Yes. Sadly, not enough people realize that.
Well, you know what? I think that's something that we should educate people.
I wholeheartedly concur. Boy, this is a complicated show. I've got two phones.
Along with the cherries, the tomatoes that come from cherry.
Okay. They do. I know groupies who were named Cherry. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No, this is a true story. A long time ago, I had a band. I wanted to learn how to play bass. So not the fish, that's bass. I'm talking bass, electric bass. So I started to learn how to play that. Any bass player, the first thing they try to emulate is Smoke on the Water. So I tried that. Right. I found a couple of guys. We got into a band. We named it. The first band we had was named, I love this, Girl Fight. And now presenting Girl Fight. So yeah, we changed our name later to Limousine. We stole that from some other group that used to play at Wright State a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Folks, let me do the hyping and the promoing right now. The mowing of the pro. First you start up the lawnmower, then you mow, you have a pro, then you mow the pro. That's called pro mowing, and that's this. You need to go to lidblog.com. I say this every time, lidblog.com, where you'll find some of the finest not some of the finest writing, okay, all of the finest writing that you would ever want to discover in one place. Damn, I am so rude. The first show of 2020, and I forgot to say welcome to Mike, welcome to Jeff is in chat, welcome to Simone, welcome to Jack Alexander, welcome to the Alaskan, and welcome to Kaiser of Schuff, one each, right there in chat. Thank you ever so kindly for being here for the first show in 2020. So lidblog.com, the finest writing, as I indicated, on the planet, and I know for a fact, because I get contacted by them every once in a while, there are people from the planet Zephron that likewise read your stuff, dude.
Where is Zephron?
Zephron is really, really, really far away. And the other thing is, they refuse to tell me. It's kind of...
They do.
It's kind of rude of them, but yeah, I've come to accept it right now. We're negotiating right now for a propulsion and drive that I plan to give to the people in the not-too-distant future and only to the United States. Anyway, go to lidblog.com because that's where, Jack Alexander said, okay, where are all the kosher T-bones? Well, that's your venue. That's your purvey, Jeff. Where are all the kosher T-bones? And if you're
I have no idea.
If you're in New York, where do you go to find them?
I had pizza for dinner.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, New York pizza, we have a whole bunch of pizza over here on the far left coast. When I was in Ohio...
Yeah, but that's like saying you have deli on the left coast. It's not real.
Okay. I was getting there, I swear. In Ohio, Kaiser, and I'm sure Kaiser's his ears perked up when I said this. I used to live in Ohio in the 60s. And when I was in Ohio, you'd get a pizza, and a pizza would come in a box, and it's all chopped in squares. Oh, my God, who eats, Jeff, who eats pizza in squares? No one.
I don't know. But I know that John Kasich eats it with a knife and fork, which is one of the many reasons I don't like him.
No. But let's discern here. Let's be discerning individuals. Let's be discriminating individual. To be discriminating in the 60s and 70s was actually a good thing. You would have discriminating tastes, say, for example. So tell me the difference in terms of a New York pizza, which people in New York, they love to point out the fact that it's a New York pizza. So what, Jeff DUNETZ of lidblog.com, what differentiates a New York pizza from, say, I don't know, some stupid Chicago pizza?
Oh, wait, that's different, okay? First of all, it's not me who differentiates it, but the late, great Justice Scalia. Okay,
really?
The man who knew the Constitution better than almost everybody, right?
Right.
He ruled that Chicago deep dish pizza wasn't pizza; it was tomato pie.
Oh my God! No wonder the people in Chicago were gobsmacked. They were absolutely gobsmacked.
And I have to tell you, I mean, if Justice Scalia said it, who am I to argue with a constitutional genius?
Now, just to confirm, this is when I hear New York pizza, this is what I get. It's thin crust. It's generally got a red topping to it. And then on top of that, it has a really sparse, lightweight smattering of a couple of elements on it, and maybe a few grains of cheese sprinkled on the top. And then the thing that you do with a New York pizza is when the elevator won't close all the way, you flip it, you fold it in half, and then shove it to somebody inside the elevator. That's what I think of when I think of a New York pizza. Thin.
The truth is,
no toppings.
The sausage is better, and there's a lot more cheese.
Now, see, I like cheese.
You see?
I like cheese. I like lots of cheese. Ham or cheese, I'll take more.
Can I tell you some good news?
Yes, I would love to hear some good news.
Okay. It seems that the attacks for tonight are over, and no American casualties. Now, you know why?
I'm hoping
the Iranians were trying to miss, or they really suck, because first of all, the first reports were like it was 3 dozen missiles.
Okay.
It was 15.
Yeah, the last I heard is that they hurled 15 ballistic missiles into Iraq when they were targeting U.S. and coalition forces. That's the last thing that I heard.
Well, let me tell you more. 4 of the 15 failed.
Oh, no.
Right.
How sad.
And they kind of missed the American areas.
Okay.
They didn't aim right. However, there is a theory going around Washington that they didn't aim right on purpose.
I had heard that, and that it's very interesting that you brought that up, because one of the things that I was going to ask you is, do you lend any credibility to that? Because that would be Iran attempting, in my mind, to pump itself up and saying, we're so great. We rained missiles down upon you, but we purposely didn't come close to you. It was just a threat. That's all it was.
Well, actually, the Iranians aren't stupid. And I think if they did this on purpose, it was so they could tell their people, see, we attacked them. But they did it in a way where the United States wouldn't have to really counterattack, because no one got hurt.
Okay, then let me ask you this question, because I want to go into this story a little bit more and in depth. What I wanted to cover with you tonight, Jeff DUNETZ, and folks, if you just tuned in, we're talking to Jeff DUNETZ. He runs, operates, and writes numerous posts per day at lidblog.com, lidblog.com. Two of the things that I wanted to discuss with you tonight were, yes, the missiles raining down in Iraq, the whole Iraq-Iran situation, and then also a whole bunch of anti-Semitism that has reared its ugly head, specifically in New York, but you could make the case for a number of places in the United States and what that is about. But first, do you think that was a face-saving measure, an attempted face-saving measure from Iran, originally knowing that, well, you know what, our crap really is, it's crap and it's not really accurate?
No, I think, you know what, if you remember, I mean, they did some really pinpoint attacks in Saudi Arabia a little while ago.
Oh, that's right.
I think that, look, they know that we can kick their butts easy.
Yes.
Okay. And I think they also know that if he doesn't have to, Trump doesn't want to have a war. Okay, if you remember, this is a guy who ran on the basis that he's not going to be doing any of these, we invade countries and stay for 15 years.
Right.
Okay. So that's why, I mean, he struck Soleimani and then retreated. And he's not going to, I think if no one was killed, he's not going to do a military response to that like that. I think he might ramp up ramp up killing their economy, but I don't think they're going to go after any people. The sanctions are going to get worse. Just a theory.
Okay, I would agree. And the other thing is that people, it's as if the American media maggots were blasting out a self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh my God, we need to be so scared of Iran because they're going to destroy us and we will get into a never-ending war and Trump will put troops on the ground, we'll be committed back in Iraq, then we're going to move into Iran. And they fail to recall that one of the first things that Trump did in his first year was, she sent some cruise missiles on their way into Syria and killed some Russian soldiers, and everyone massively conveniently seems to forget that aspect as well. So essentially it's tit for tat. We lost a contractor.
Well, I don't want to talk dirty. That's not right.
Okay. It's human form for tat. And what? No, you said you didn't want to talk dirty. I get it. And
I know you get it.
I know. And so the last thing I heard is Iran fired about 15 missiles into Iraq. They were targeting U.S. and coalition troops. It says in the story that I'm looking at right now, 10 missiles hit al-Assad air base. One missile hit a military base in Erbil. And it's interesting.
Well, it hit near it. It hit like 30 miles away.
Okay, well, that's near. What the hell? And 4 missiles failed to hit their targets at all. And the attacks...
Actually, one of the 4 hit right godsmack in the middle of Erbil, but it didn't blow up.
Okay.
That was one of the ones that failed.
And that's very interesting because I was corresponding and kind of Facebook chatting with Kaiser, who's in the chat room tonight, and he mentioned Erbil. He was spelling it I-R-B-I-L. And the first thing I thought is, okay, he just misspelled gerbil and he's missing his pet. But that's not true. He was talking about a place in Iraq. And
well, interestingly, Fox spelled it with an E and CNN spelled it with an I.
And Kaiser, Kaiser and CNN have something in common. That's wonderful. And Kaiser now in chat says EOD. What's that?
While this was happening, MSNBC had a correspondent who said, well, according to Iran, 13 Americans died.
Really?
At the same time, the Pentagon was saying, it looks like we can get any casualties.
Okay. Well, of course.
That's MSNBC for you.
They continue to prove, and it obviously will continue in 2020, that anything and everything that can possibly go against Donald Trump, they're going to be against anything and everything that he does, and that will not let up, that will not relent. It's obviously moved into 2020. It's a sad state of affairs with the media, but that's one of the things that you won't find when you go to your site at lidblog.com. You have all the same news sources as everybody else. Trump made a tweet. I was looking at this. Trump said, "All is well. Missiles launched from Iran at 2 military bases located in Iraq. Assessment of casualties and damages taking place now. So far, so good. We have the most powerful and well-equipped military anywhere in the world by far. I will be making a statement tomorrow morning." So no statement tonight from the White House. Kaiser and I were chatting about that, and we were saying, you know what? I just bet he's just really busy right now, trying to make sure that all things are taken care of, and making any kind of an official statement from the White House. He's just going to wait until things are taken care of and the smoke settles a little bit. Would that be your appraisal?
I do believe that he's really deciding whether or not he should respond if there were no casualties. And he's just waiting to double check there are no casualties, and he's really working on thinking it through. He doesn't want to, shoot from the hip.
Which is what we pay him for, which is one of the reasons that I voted for him. That brings into two questions that I may get into a little bit. I don't know if I'll have time to get into them before the break. I may.
By the way.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear what Pelosi did?
No. Illuminate me, please.
She sent out a tweet that basically said, everything should calm down. And, this is all because of the administration's aggressive tactics. And she actually was reporting that tweet or sending that tweet from a party, from a restaurant opening party. Because somebody took a picture of her at the same exact time and said, "Hey, look where Nancy is."
Yeah, obviously she's quivering in her basement. No, she's at a party drinking
So actually,
heavily.
I wrote her. I tweeted her back and said, "I'm too busy covering this to make myself dinner. Will you bring me home a doggy bag from the party?"
There you go. Once again, Jeff DUNETZ counting on the grace, kindness, and goodness of strangers, so to speak. Here's an article that I found from, what is this, ktbs.com. I found this very interesting, but it's nothing that I wouldn't expect. Barksdale B-52s deployed to Diego Garcia base. Well, we all know that B-52s have a really, really long range, and they have a really, really high capacity for... B-52s are outfitted for just about anything in the Air Force inventory if it goes boom or bang. 6 B-52 bombers from Barksdale. They got sent to Diego Garcia. That's a British-controlled island in the Indian Ocean, and the Pentagon said that. This is all from the airstrike, and I only heard. I mentioned this to my wife last night. Someone was talking. There was a talking head on, I think it was Fox. I don't really know her, but she said the thing that I've been asking for, ever since the Suleiman guy got snuffed out. I said, why is it that no one in the media is bringing up the fact that you have an Iranian general, a mastermind of terrorism from Iran, meeting with the head of Hezbollah in Iraq at a Baghdad airport, and nobody seems to question what the hell is an Iranian general doing in Iraq at the Baghdad airport consulting with a Hezbollah head of terror. Were they talking about their grandchildren?
No, that was Bill Clinton and the former Attorney General.
Right. So
Hezbollah is funded by actually all that money, all those billions that we gave to Iran.
Well, see,
because Iran gives a lot of it to Hezbollah.
That's very interesting, but nobody mentioned or questions what is an Iranian general doing in Iraq, consorting with a head of terror. It's just a meeting, like Clinton on the tarmac. Isn't that odd? It was another tarmac meeting, and I'm sure they were just talking about their grandparents. But again, you make an excellent point.
Golf game, yeah.
Yeah. Or they were sharing greeting cards because one of them had a birthday about 1 or 2 days away, is what I heard. I don't know. But why has no one mentioned that? What was an Iranian general doing in Iraq? Only this one chick made any mention about it. And the other point was
something that no one else makes a mention of.
What's that?
Okay. Soleimani planned and his guys executed the whole embassy thing last week.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a question. Don't you think that if they did that attack, not at the embassy, but like in New York, wouldn't the liberals say, let's go after them? Hopefully.
You would want to think so.
Okay. Well, according to international law, the U.S. embassy, anyone's embassy, is the part of the sovereign nation. That ground, that grass is America.
Yes.
So it's the same as if they attacked New York. They attacked American territory. And, salami there.
Well,
he planned and ran it. I like to call him salami because I like to barbecue salami during the summer.
Salami,
That's
bologna.
Right. So no one mentions that the attack was on U.S. sovereign territory.
You're absolutely correct. And in chat, let's see. Kaiser said, yeah, Obama funded Hezbollah. What am I looking for? Oh, Jack, also in chat, said, Soleimani is responsible for 20% of U.S. death in the Middle East. And people are bitching because, our embassy was essentially attacked. And we lost an American citizen. And so it's a tit for tat. We didn't rain anything down on Iran. We didn't go into Iran. That's Iran in Iraq. So I think this was let me ask you, Jeff DUNETZ of lidblog.com. We got about 1 more minute before the bottom of the hour break. Do you think this was a responsible and a proportionate response to let me ask it better this way. What do you think would be a proportionate Trump response to that missile attack?
I don't know. Because I don't know what the damage is.
Okay.
But if the damage is that nobody got hurt, maybe it doesn't have to be a fire and brimstone response.
Okay. All right.
You remember what Soleimani did is, Trump has always said, I hate to use the word, the red line is when Americans get killed.
Yes.
Soleimani killed Americans.
And the odd thing was, if you remember, there were some people on the left who were saying, well, wait a minute, an American drone was shot down. What's going to be your response? Trump's statement was, that was an unmanned drone. At this time, I'm not going to take any kind of an action towards that.
Right.
Now, you have to ask yourself, okay, was that proportionate? Well, when we come back after the break, I want to talk about proportionality. I want to talk about maybe a little bit in terms of tactics and whatnot. And then we're going to transmogrify over into what the heck is going on in New York these days. Some great questions coming up. You're listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Always spell it with a K. And I'm talking to Jeff DUNETZ. Be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
for fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're back. It's 2020, and we're back. For the very first show, it's my pleasure to reintroduce the lovely and bombastic and ebullient, obsequious, wonderful individual known as, he's ubiquitous, he's over everywhere. You can't not help but find him at lidblog.com. Jeff DUNETZ, one each. He is here tonight for the first hour. So, Jeff, again, thank you for being here on the first show in the saloon for 2020. Thank you, sir.
We should talk more about this Iran thing.
Okay, let's.
Okay, and it's amazing how the media is really not telling the truth. It's not telling the full story.
Okay.
You know, Obama, and I know people hate when you say, but Obama, but he did more targeted killings, blowing up people, than Trump did. Trump's done one.
He was the drone strike
Obama did it with
king.
an American.
Oh, yes, he did, as a matter of fact. You're right. I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten about that. You're right.
And Obama screwed up and actually killed 2 American hostages, one of which was actually my college advisor. He was kidnapped by the Taliban. So don't tell me, oh, this is so horrible. Okay, because like Obama did it on a daily basis. And, you know, even Rand Paul was screaming at Obama when he killed the American. So let's kind of calm down a little.
Yeah, let's parse this, because I bet nobody remembers that in 2008, Obama, 2009, right after he was sworn in, dropped some friendly bombs on a wedding party, killing 37 people in Afghanistan, pissing off President Hamid Karzai of Afghanistan at the time. But yeah, just like Obama was the food stamp president, he was also the drone king as well. How conveniently we seem to forget all of these very important factors as well.
Well, that Afghan wedding, he did that because he thought they were Jews.
Okay, I found this other story as well, and if you have more to add to the Iran thing,
okay, John, that was my last point.
Okay.
Although, you know, I just have to tell you, you know, one thing about the impeachment stuff.
Okay.
Because I know that's not on your list. However, you know how Mitch McConnell said he's doing his own rules?
Right.
Okay. One of them's going to really piss off the Democrats.
No.
Yeah, because the Republicans are going to do shirts and the Democrats have to do skins.
Uh-oh. Yeah, and then all we'll see, and this is the worst visual you could possibly think of, is old Democrat man titties. Oh, my God.
I'm going to listen to it on the radio.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to watch. You don't want to see that. Folks, some things once seen cannot be unseen. I want to go back to a story. This is from jihadwatch.org. In 2015, Arab Muslim countries were saying that more Arab countries should be more like Iran, and that Obama likes Soleimani and admires his work. Okay, we know that Soleimani was responsible for the deaths of many Americans. People are saying at least 600 or more. So because of that, These days, apparently, that makes him revered by the leftist establishment. In the good old days, that would have made Democrats quail and not want to have anything to do with him. So, according to the terms of the Iran deal, I'm sorry, I forgot to say the Iranians, and this is breaking my heart, and I'm sure it broke yours. The Iranians, Jeff said, we're not doing the deal now. The deal is
They never
off.
did.
They never did. And so you have to... Go ahead, sir.
I wrote something on Sunday, I believe, about, because I used to work for a site called Iran Truth, and what it was is it was about the, lead up to the deal. And I learned a lot of things about nuclear power, and I kind of followed all the, the BS about the deal. By the way, do you know that they turned the uranium into something called yellow cake?
Yes, I have heard about that.
Yes. And do you know that even a diabetic like me can eat yellow cake and it doesn't work, it doesn't mess up my sugar?
Well, that's good. That's a positive.
Right? It'll kill me, but it won't mess up my sugar.
Well, yeah, and it won't affect your diabetes at all. It'll affect your living or dying, but it won't affect your diabetes.
Right.
Here's one thing that...
As far as the deal goes...
Yeah?
Okay, listen. First of all, remember how Obama said there were anytime, anywhere inspections? Never happened.
Right. Well, it was never going to happen.
And the only one where they were allowing inspections, okay, Iran, the side deal said that Iran could do their own inspections. And, as I once said, the nuns always said if you inspect yourself, you grow hair on your palms and your eyesight goes bad. Okay?
Well, you would want to trust Iran. Listen, they wouldn't cheat or anything.
Well, no, but they do it on television. Yeah, it's so stupid.
It is stupid. Here's what it got down to in terms of Iran. Trump isn't Obama. So if you go back to 2015, folks, you can remember that Obama was negotiating, I use that in air quotes, the nuclear talks with Iran. I think it was over like 18 months or something like that. It was never about Iran's nuclear weapons program, okay? Everybody, like everybody else in the Middle East at that time, there's one thing that Iran understood, is that when Obama drew that red line with Assad in 2013, I think it was, and if Assad used chemical weapons, by God, that red line was going to be there, and there was going to be military action, except Iran and the rest of the people recognized that Obama was never going to order military action against any kind of an Iranian nuclear facility. Okay, so when Obama then took that option off the table, that was a clear sign to Iran that he wasn't going to stop him because he thought there was no way to do so. So he leaked information, and people don't remember this, about that Stuxnet worm thing. Then he suggested that could help with Israel too. So the Iranians knew and were counting on the fact that if you don't back up your word with the red line, we'll agree to anything. And of course, like the Iranians were saying, oh, you're dealing with moderates here. Everybody here, we're all moderates. That was a massive, massive bullshit alert. So I think the question next, and I want to get on to the final topic for the night, because we only got about 15 minutes left, and you have Betty Bite coming, because midnight is facing you. I can hear it from here.
And that's when the vampires come out.
Yes, it is. Thank God you're in your house. So, my question would be, at this point, it appears, and I think the question is on everybody's mind, is we know Trump is not Obama. The Iranians apparently had to learn that. They didn't learn from watching, from being observers in Syria with regard to the various cruise missiles that rained down on Syria, killing some Russians. So I'm curious in what form there will be some kind of response from the White House. My guess would be tonight there was no announcement because they're busy working on what it is that they're going to do. So is that kind of how you're interpreting the tactics on this so far, Jeff DUNETZ?
Yeah, I mean, they're thinking it through. I mean, there were no casualties. There are no casualties. They got to decide what they want to do. If it was strictly like damaging infrastructure, I don't think he's going to do a military response. Just like, blowing up one of our drones didn't elicit a military response. So, I mean, he's really thinking it through. And while the Democrats say that, he does think that, you know what the weirdest one is? They said that, he attacked Soleimani to get the news off of impeachment.
Oh, yeah. What a load of crap.
Well, every time the Democrats open their mouth about impeachment, his poll numbers go up. So why would he do that?
Now that it doesn't make any sense. Everybody knows in the intel world that when you have actionable intel, and if you don't act on it, like, well, let's say, for example, like Willie Jefferson Clinton didn't act on having the ability to take out OBL back in the 90s.
Yep.
If you have actionable intelligence and the window on something like that is relatively slight in terms of an appearance, if you don't take some kind of action on that, it's gone, it's done. And the window closes. And so I think that's what Trump...
The fun part about that is that Susan Rice said, well, I don't trust the reason why he's doing it. The same Susan Rice that went on the speech of the Sunday shows and said it was like a video.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was that terrible, terrible... By the way, I saw that video, and she's right. It was terrible. The production quality was rotten, but that was a job.
Actually, Ken Timmerman wrote a great book about it, and the name escapes me, but you got to look it up because it was how the video was filmed and how it was turned into like this horrible thing where the people who were in the video didn't even know it was this anti-Islam thing until Hillary said so.
Yeah, and the guy that was the producer got picked up by LASO and they revoked his federal probation. By the way, folks, federal probation until they actually pick you up doesn't mean squat. Federal probation is like wagging your finger at a 5-year-old and saying, don't you do that again. We got about 10, 12 minutes left. I want to roll over into the massive wave of anti-Semitism that seems to be plaguing New York these days. Number one, in general, and I'm looking at a number of your specific articles, Jeff DUNETZ from lidblog.com, regarding this. But overall, can you give us an overall sense, Jeff, of why is this happening? Why now? Why anti-Semitism, and why does it appear, well, and correct me, it appears to be exploding the way the media is covering it. So is it exploding? If so, why now? And what's the deal? Why are we seeing these things go up and seem to be erupting, mostly in the Northeast?
I don't know why now. I wish I did. And yes, it is erupting. Okay. And, this is going to sound racist, but it's really particularly coming from the black community. And one of the things I wrote explained how, the black community and the Jewish community used to be close allies. Every time Martin Luther King marched, the guy next to him was a Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. And look at the pictures. Guy with a funny beard. That was Rabbi Heschel.
And I'm looking at your article on that right now. And the title of your article, go to lidblock.com and you can find it. and read Jeff's article, How Did the Black Jewish Civil Rights Alliance Become African-American Anti-Semitism? Gone is the friendship forged by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, just like you said. So what fragmented?
Well, it started when Martin Luther King was killed. Because the next generation of civil rights leaders, people like Jesse Jackson, felt they were competing with the Jews to move into the middle class. And so they started putting down the Jews. And little by little, there were a lot of incidents where that turned into Jew baiting, calling the Jews names and violence. And, in New York, for example, about 6-7 months after King was killed, there was a big teacher strike, which is something New York teachers did all the time.
Right.
But in this case, it was because one of the districts, they just had turned the power from the big school district into the individual school districts, into, smaller markets. And one of the school districts was a very black district, and they fired all the white people. Okay, and a lot of them were Jews. And Albert Shanker, who was the leader of the union, called a New York City strike because of it. And because he was Jewish, the blacks in the area and the blacks on radio started saying, well, they're race baiters, and it's those damn Jews, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm not saying and I'm also not saying all the blacks. Things like that started. I mean, if you go to 91, it was it was Crown Heights. And if you look at the statistics, of anti-Semitism, black anti-Semitism from 2012 to 2016, anti-Semitism among blacks was twice that of the general population, which is scary.
Well, the thing that I'm referring to, and there were many more instances than this, but the one that I can remember is that there was some kind of an Israeli student. He was on a New York subway, and he got assaulted by this black chick who was yelling anti-Semitic stuff at her.
That was 2 weeks ago, yeah.
And
you know what?
An Orthodox Jewish guy riding in the same car. So she gets arrested. She gets let out, and she does the same damn thing the next day to another individual. And the latest information that I have is that the DA in New York, whoever is covering that jurisdiction, is refusing to charge her with any kind of a hate crime.
That has changed.
Has it? Okay, then
bringing it up to the grand jury.
Okay, all righty. Because I say, and I emphasize, no one is equal until everyone is equal.
Well, but you see, the other thing is, if you look at the leaders, there was a giant march on Sunday, 25,000 Jews marching across the Brooklyn Bridge, believe it or not.
Okay.
It almost looked like when there was a railroad strike and Koch was leading everybody across. Remember those days?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, it was led by Andrew Cuomo and Schmuck Schumer. Did I get that name wrong? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And they both, after these attacks, he said, oh, it's anti-Semitism. It's so big. People shouldn't be anti-Semitic. But funny how they were both at Al Sharpton's 65th birthday party like 2 months ago. Al Sharpton, one of the biggest he made a career out of being anti-Semitic. Or Cuomo, who not only went to the party, but when they were talking about stopping Linda Sarsour from being the commencement speaker for City College, Cuomo fought against them and made them have her as the speaker. She's a bad anti-Semite too. So if our leadership accepts people who are anti-Semitic, how is the general population not going to be anti-Semitic?
Well, yeah. And then we go back to, this is the thing that I thought was so bizarre, is that right around December 28th, 29th, before the new year, there was I think it was the 7th anti-Semitic attack. Some guy wielding a machete goes into the home of a rabbi, and with that machete stabs 5 people.
As a matter of fact, one of them will never have his faculties ever again, because it went through his skull and messed up his brain.
And this is targeted, folks. This is targeted. This isn't just some random thing on the street. A Hasidic Jew stands out, okay? You can see him and you go, okay, I know who that dude is. I know his religion. And you can find them. You can target them on the street, and that's what's happening. But you go into somebody's house with a machete.
I'll give you another example, though.
It's just insane.
BizPac Review. I love that site. I read it every day. One guy today writes a story about an article that Friedman from the New York Times wrote, and and it has nothing to do with the rest of what he wrote. He goes, and Friedman, who's Jewish, why does it matter? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, okay, that plays to the point that Kaiser was asking in chat, and I've asked you this before, and maybe you can sum it up if you can in like a minute or two. Kaiser was saying something similar to, I don't get it. What is going on with Jews of a leftist bent who don't see what's happening, and it's right in front of their face? How can that happen? I know I've asked you that before. But maybe you can illuminate some folks as to that. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Well, one part of it is until the 1960s, the conservative movement was anti-Semitic. Until William F.
Buckley, right,
threw them out. He threw out the Pat Buchanans and others of the world. Said, you can't be part of this movement because you hate. Okay, Jews weren't allowed. You weren't welcome. So that is part of it. The other thing is it's not all Jews. There's 3 giant sects in the United States. That's S-E-C-T-S, not S-E-X-S. Anyway, the Reform movement, the conservative movement, and the Orthodox movement.
Okay.
Orthodox are conservative politically. Conservatives are kind of in the middle. Some yes, some no. I worship it as conservative shul, although the clergy is very liberal. As liberal as the conservative clergy. Reform, they're communists. I mean, they are so far left, you want to puke. And if you look at the major Jewish organizations, like I tell everybody, don't donate to the ADL. You know why? If you want to donate to the Democratic Party, cut out the middleman, just give it straight to them. Because the ADL, all they care about is progressive politics. And same thing with the American Jewish Committee.
It's
a lot of them are. If people supported the more conservative ones, like the American Zionist Foundation. I'm part of a group. Actually, I'm running on their slate to be a delegate to the World Zionist Organization. But the group, the party is called Heirut. It's conservative, and it's pro-Zionist. So it depends on the organization. And American Jews, when they give money, they don't really care about, because they never looked at the politics. They just give money. They think they're doing well. I mean, we're taught to give charity. But what they don't realize is what that charity is really being used for. And I think that's part of it. You know how you become a big shot in a Jewish charity? Same way you could become a big shot in any other charity. You raise a lot of money. And by giving these people money, you're putting the liberals in power.
Mike in chat asks, and this is going to have to be the last question because I know you're going to have to hit the feathers here shortly. Mike asks, what about AIPAC?
What about it? I mean, AIPAC is for AIPAC. Okay. They're not as liberal as J Street's horrible. J Street is anti-Israel. But AIPAC is liberal. Okay? As a matter of fact, I've spoken to people in the Israel who have government positions in Israel, and not high up, but who say, AIPAC isn't really for us. They're trying to make themselves big. Look how AIPAC every year invited Obama to speak.
Yeah, that's very true.
And not only, now granted, he was the president of the United States. And when he showed up, you got to show him respect because he's the president. Okay? But you don't have to invite him. Okay? This is a man who, if you read Michael Oren's book, within his first month of presidency, he sat down with all the Jewish leaders and say, look, I got to drive a wedge between the United States and Israel.
Really?
And nobody said anything.
Really?
But then they have to invite him to everything. He threw out the American Zionist Foundation, okay, and added J Street to it because J Street's anti-Israel.
Man.
And J Street had no legitimacy until Obama brought it.
Thanks, Obama. Thanks for a lot of things. Really appreciate it.
Well, yeah.
Thanks for your 8 years. Jeff DUNETZ, where can people find you and read you and know that you don't post just once a day or twice a day or 3 times a day? Sometimes you post 4, 5, 6 times a day. That is one active blog. Where can people find you?
Lidblog.com.
Perfecto mundo.
One other good piece of information today.
Yes, sir.
Celebration. Nick Sandman, CNN settled with him.
Yes.
You know who Nick Sandman is?
Yes, I do. It's funny you mentioned that. I have a story in the second hour about that.
Oh, good.
Amazing how that works.
I think it's wonderful because it teaches. I just hope it hurts. Really hurts.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's magic. I hope it's really magic. Folks, you were listening to Jeff DUNETZ. I will have you back, sir.
I hope so.
Yeah, oh, my gosh, yes. Go to lidblog.com. It is 4 minutes after midnight, so somebody definitely, you can't go out because all the vampires, as you say, are out there. It's foggy as heck in Sacramento, and it's about 39 degrees out there. Is it chilly, Willie, in New York, where you are?
I don't know. I'm inside.
Okay, good for you, and that's where you need to be. Go to bed, sir, and thanks for staying up so late. I appreciate it.
Oh, for you, man.
All right.
It's always great talking to you, my friend.
Thank you ever so kindly. Folks, that was Jeff DUNETZ. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back, open up the phone lines. Gosh, what did I say? Gosh. Okay, I'll remember what the phone is. The number is so new that I'm going to have to remember what it was. Let's see, 575-208-4811. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So the phones are going to be open after the break. We're going to go to the break right now and then be right back. I have some great audio cuts. And we're going to talk about California, and we're going to take some of your phone calls, and we can talk about Iran. We can talk about Afghanistan. We can talk about what might be occurring tomorrow, because today is already tomorrow on the East Coast, and everybody knows, well, you know, OMB doesn't get much sleep at night, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours at night. The guy's always thinking. So tomorrow will be a very interesting day. I'm sure of it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York. The Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Always got to spell it with a K. A mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast. It's the Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the Capitol building in downtown Sacramento, at 10th and L Streets, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense. And we had Jeff DUNETZ in for the first hour. Thank you ever so kindly to Jeff. It is 2 minutes after midnight on the far right coast. It's 12 minutes after 9 o'clock on the left coast. And in Bolivia, it's 1796.723, subparagraph 4, Groot Cluster 2 in Bolivian time. I never did quite understand Bolivian time. Oh, Mike says, how is the nose? Okay, here's a programming note. I have it on good, well, okay, if you're watching, air quotes. I have it on good, air quote, authority that Clint is going to be here for the first Sackheads Against Tyranny show of 2020. Tomorrow night, the 8th, January 8th, will be the first Sackheads show of 2020. And allegedly, see, I'm kind of hedging my bets a little bit. Allegedly, Clint's going to be here, so I'm just going to have to assume that he's going to be here. We have, if I'm not mistaken, I think we have Kaiser on the line. Kaiser, how are you, sir?
I'm outstanding, BZ. How are you today?
You're like a farmer, outstanding in your own field. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
That's right. That's right. I'm doing so good that if I was doing it better, they'd have to clone me because one person didn't hold it all.
Oh, listen, your future is so bright, you got to wear shades.
Exactamundo. Hey, no, calling in, I've noticed with this whole advent of the Quds Force and Soleimani, everybody's an expert on it. Look, in 05 and 06, I was in Wasat Province, Al Quds.
Okay.
He's been a known product of mine since that time. He actually was the guy who was pushing out explosively formed projectiles. And they were just shipping them in. Like they still had to ship them in up in Mosul, but because Wasat Province and Al Quds being 40 miles from it, roughly, they would pass back and forth. Our Iraqis and the Iranians would pass back and forth all the time because they were cousins and what, brothers, sisters, mother. I mean, that's just the way that was. Well, they started producing them in Al Quds, manufacturing them.
Okay.
And so we had to deal with them, and we used a lot of IPs on the missions, this, that, and the other. And that's, you've seen the pictures of me training Iraqi police. That's just a known fact. And they are responsible for a lot of deaths. Okay? I did have a problem. It's a respect your enemy kind of thing with the way we did it, just because of the laws of land warfare. And I'm sure Jack knows this too. It's illegal to assassinate somebody that's a uniformed soldier. And he did wear a uniform. It's called a uniform belligerent. Here's the rub. He was identified as a terrorist. So they can get around that. I don't know how that would hold up in The Hague or in international court, but in American courts, which is all that matters to us Americans, it would hold. So that was the only thing I had a problem with. But once we did it, we have to see how it shakes out. Now we see what's happening. I do not believe they purposely missed the target. Okay. They're using Russian shit. You ask a question in the chat, do the Russians ship it directly? Some of it they do. But they also have arms dealers, cutouts. That's how Adnan Khashoggi, a lot of people forget about that guy. Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach. Well, he was the biggest arms dealer in the 80s. And remember his nephew got killed, who was a journalist, by the Saudi government, probably because of those kind of ties. That whole entire area, when they talk about the Sunni-Shia split, it's right in some aspects, wrong in others. And the same thing with Israel. I mean, I remember in Idlib, I believe it was, they found a Israeli colonel who was fighting with ISIS. He may have been undercover, but he was one of their guys. And they found him in a hospital. So, and then you got to remember, it's still my opinion, nobody will sway me off it. ISIS was made by the CIA, and it was under Obabala. I don't even say that man's name. And so a lot of these issues we're having is we emboldened them. Jeff was very correct saying we funded them. We funded Hezbollah. So, I mean, why isn't Obama facing terrorism charges? Well, what we did there was strictly criminal. And that's my thought.
Here's one thing that I talked about, and a lot of people forget this, and I think this has a great deal to do with go back to Benghazi. A lot of things stem from Benghazi. Yep. And one of the things that I mentioned, I discovered, was the Obama DOJ, I think it was 12, 13, right around in there, drops charges against a guy that was providing Libyan weapons. That's what Benghazi was all about, folks. This arms dealer named Mark Turi, Turi, look it up on your favorite search engine. He'd threatened to expose Hillary Clinton's talks about arming anti-Gaddafi rebels, okay? And so they dismissed charges against that guy. He's an arms dealer. He was accused of selling weapons that were destined for Libyan rebels, okay? The lawyers for the DOJ at the time, they filed a motion in federal court in Phoenix, of all places, keep it quiet, to drop the case against this guy, Mark Turi. He was an American, and I can't believe it. His lawyers concurred with that, and they signed the motion in federal court. They were saying, and this is again all tied to Benghazi, a guy who was an associate of Turi said the government dropped the case because the proceedings to display him in open court could have embarrassed Clinton and Barack Obama by calling attention to the fact their role in the administration in supplying weapons that fell into the hands of Islamic extremist militants. Stop. Go back in history. What did Obama just said around that time? He said, I have ISIS on the run. And to introduce anything that went against having ISIS on the run couldn't be featured, couldn't be revealed. We can't have any information about that getting out. It was guns, folks. That's why Christopher Stevens was there.
Yep.
He was to
and
help.
The CIA annex.
Yes, he was to help broker the deal that turned into a load of shit and got 4 Americans killed. This was on Obama's watch. Hillary Clinton was completely aware of that, went along with that, and laid that crap just like Rice did the very next day, that Sunday, saying it was all because of a video? Bullshit.
Yeah, Alaska made a good point too. He said during the money deal, the Iran deal, Soleimani was given amnesty by Babylon, and that's true too. The whole point was that they were trying to recover some of the missiles because they had also shipped them, or got mixed up in shipping. I don't know which, but they had given us basically man pads, which are surface-to-air missiles like our Stingers, and we had somehow shipped those to them, and that's why there was a big deal about aircraft.
Yes.
On future missions after I went over there, if you're in a helicopter and they got painted by some ground-seeking radar, that you'd be flying, in all different directions and doing all kinds of weird maneuvers, and they'd be dropping shape because those were loose. They didn't recover all.
Well, and the pieces, parts of that, upon recovery, astounded a couple of people when they looked and discovered, well, these are American manufacturers.
Right.
How the hell does that happen?
Well, it happens easily. And
Purposely.
The government even covered that up.
Yes, it happens purposely.
Yeah, well, the government even covered that up because they were doing Gunwalker roughly around the same time or just before it, if memory serves.
Okay.
And I think they both blew up roughly around the same time. But, no, the interesting fact is that those manufacturers, if you look back, all of them went to prison. And yet they were done purposely to move weapons. And we're talking about Class 3 manufacturers, machine gun manufacturers.
Right.
I happen to know one of those manufacturers that get tied into that. And they had one where they had a classified computer given to them. A buddy of mine worked there. And as they were banging on the door, that classified computer, he was told, could not be seen by anybody that didn't have the clearance for it. Well, the ATF's banging on the door wanting in. And he's like, you can't come in. He had to call DOD. DOD had to call him to say, we're sending, the ATF agent, we're sending somebody down there to get the computer. You can go in there as soon as we get our computer. But, this is the real cock-up of this thing.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Step back, folks. Step back just for a little bit and examine the bigger, overarching scope of it. People are pissed at Trump because he offed a terrorist. What, again, I say, what is an Iranian general doing at Baghdad airport talking to the head of Hezbollah in Iraq? I'm sure sharing pictures of grandparents. That's bad, but blowing up all of Egypt and killing Gaddafi, because that's what Obama and Clinton were advocating at the time. That's what this gun-running crap was all about in Benghazi. That's okay, because as you pointed out, Kaiser, that's gun running again, like Fast and Furious under A.G. Holder, which resulted, if you remember, folks, in the death of U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. So the secrets had to be kept, and lives were lost. 4 lives in Benghazi. I will not excuse or forget that.
What's the best way to keep a secret? Make sure the other people are dead.
Yeah.
Look, in all honesty, here's the thing, man. I've seen so much corruption. I think Trump's on the way to getting rid of a lot of it because he cut, 100 people out of state and other agencies. That needs to happen. The bureaucracy has become untenable. And these are people on the SES level making 6 figures. You add up 100 people making 6 figures, that's quite a sum, folks.
Okay. And, tell you what, Kaiser, there's some other people who want to call in.
Okay,
I'll
get off.
No, not yet. I'm trying to get to a point. We got 5 minutes before the bottom of the hour break, and I may not go to the break because a lot of this stuff is incredibly important. But let's cut to the chase. Let's ask somebody that's been there. Talk to somebody that's been walking around in the sand over there, flew on American aircraft, landed, did various jobs, etc. So I am beginning to become of the mindset of GTF out of the Middle East, period, end of statement. Afghanistan, let's see, what's in Afghanistan? Death, dead Russians, some dead Americans, a lot of poppies, a lot of opium, and as you pointed out about 3 weeks ago, lithium. Lithium. Okay, so, all right, but still, Afghanistan is a quagmire. Get out. And Iraq. We've been in Iraq. We see what's happening in Iraq right now. I'm thinking that maybe it's time to, if absent a good exit strategy, just GTF out of Iraq. So that's why I want to ask you, Kaiser, a dude who hasn't just, sat at a keyboard and typed about things like this. You've been there, seen it, smelled it, walked in it.
Yep.
What's your overall thought about Afghanistan, Iraq, the Middle East, and let's distill it down to this. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Kaiser Schuff, that President Trump does something heretofore unimagined, that he makes some kind of a declaration that we're going to pull out of Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, the talking heads, including many talking heads from the military on both sides of the aisle, would say something similar to, the world is going to go to hell, and you'll have your little sons and daughters blown up in malls, in the Mall of America. So, Kaiser, let's say we pull soldiers, people on the ground, out of Iraq, out of Afghanistan. What's the scenario if that occurs?
Well, it devolves instantly into a Sunni-Shia war. Israel's right there, too. So, in Israel, like I've said before, Israel, Qatar, UAE, I'm just saying Qatar and Bahrain, for inclusiveness. All those little Sunni countries, they say on the face of it, they don't allow Israelis in. They do. They're in bed with the Israelis like it's cool.
Okay.
So you would have Israel probably with the Sunnis fighting the Shia. And an equilibrium would come, and the power vacuum would probably be Turkey. Turkey, Erdogan would actually get his caliphate, which I don't care about. Because Erdogan, the way he runs his country, he would be like a Saddam Hussein, but they'd have a super state. That's a fact. But they'd have ruin. They'd just have oil. Well, as long as we're pumping oil out of our own ground, the only people that get hurt by it are Europe. I hate to say this, but Europe has invited all those people in anyways.
Oh, sure.
So Europe's lost.
Sure.
So, I mean, there'll be more refugees. See, here's the problem. Every 4 to 8 years, we change policy. We change president.
Yep.
We don't have a consistent policy. Even with State Department in there, they all get in lockstep with liberals. And when Republicans in, the Republican has to move liberal just to go with state. The military's been the only hegemon that we've had of sanity. But then you have defense contractors, I being one of them. Not going to get paid, not going to make a lot of money. But, I have a son serving in the military. So, it's a trade-off. Do I want to make money or keep my son alive? I know the reality of what war is. And, there's an old saying, beware an old man in a game where young men usually die. But a lot of that, and I don't believe in luck, a lot of that is luck, man. And, when you gamble the war dice, you don't know when it's going to come up craps. And we've been gambling it for almost 2 decades now.
Well,
and so, yes, I'm all about getting the fuck out of there.
We're not going to stop it. We're not going to stop essentially nomadic people, Bedouins, who've been warring against each other for literally centuries. That's not going to stop. We believe in little lines on a country, on a map, and these little lines delineate one country from another. And the people predominantly in the Middle East don't believe in that. They believe in areas, in tribes, in tribalism.
Yep.
You know, there's a reason. And by the way, folks, no, I'm not going to, from now until the show stops, I am not going to have another break. All I'm going to say is this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
We're talking to Kaiser Schuff on the phone. Essentially, he says, get out of Afghanistan, get out of Iraq. And I wanted to reference a quote that is pretty standard, and I'd like your 2 cents on this, because I've heard it from people that served in the Middle East, soldiers that I would supervise when they got through. They did their time. They came back.
Right.
Good troops, good boots. And I'd talk to them frequently about their experiences over in the sandbox. Right. One of the things that they said predominantly was, they have a saying, it's me against my brother, me and my brother against my cousin, me and my brother and my cousin against the tribe, me and my brother and my cousin and the tribe against the outsider. And if you want to quantify the mindset of the Middle Eastern version of Islam, not the Indonesian version of Islam,
right?
You would be yes, massive difference. You ask anybody on the street, and all the people, because they're generally morons, are going to tell you all the Muslims live in the Middle East. Bullshit. The greatest number of Muslims are in Indonesia, you sniveling jackanape, you trembling toady.
I worked there too. So, yeah, and here's the thing. Sykes-Picot and the Balfour document or Balfour Agreement, I've heard it called a bunch of different things over my time, the English and Germans, and we call it different names. That's the problem, drawing arbitrary lines after World War I. So, honestly, they got to sort this shit out themselves. I've said this before on one of your shows.
Yeah, we're not going to do it.
The safest thing to do is, we're not going to, I guarantee, but the safest thing to do, if you're an American and a country's in collapse, especially a Middle Eastern country, you got about probably 6 months until they start shooting you. Until then, they're getting their retribution killing them. And it's just a savage country. And all countries are not equal.
No. Not by a long shot.
All countries cannot handle Jeffersonian democracy. And some countries need a tyrant. You know, it took Tito to keep what was Yugoslavia together. And once he left, look what happened to Yugoslavia. The Macedonians, the Serbs, the Croats, all of them. They went after each other. Once he died. So anyways, that's my two cents on it. It's worth exactly what you paid for it. Nothing. But it's facts that I've seen on the ground.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks for weighing it. I really appreciate that.
Happy New Year and a great new decade.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The Sackheads will be on tomorrow night, and then I will probably be back on Thursday. I don't have a guest yet. I'm going to try to see if I can get Dan Butcher on. It'll only be like the 5th time that I've tried to get Dan on the show. Anyway, folks, if you want to call, give us a blast, 575-208-4811. 575-208-4811. Something occurred last night. No. Sunday night. The Golden Globes. And Ricky Gervais, who is a guy that I don't really like a hell of a lot, but at least he's fairly even-handed at hating everybody. This was his intro at the Golden Globes. And if you didn't hear it, oh my God, you got to. It
Hello
was
and
great.
welcome to the 77th Annual Golden Globe Awards, live from the Beverly Hilton Hotel here in Los Angeles. I'm Ricky Gervais, thank you. You'll be pleased to know this is the last time I'm hosting these awards, so...
Oh, that'll be
I
true.
don't care anymore.
Oh my God.
I'm joking, I never did. NBC clearly don't care either. 5th time. So, I mean, Kevin Hart was fired from the Oscars because of some offensive tweets. Hello? Lucky for me, the Hollywood Foreign Press can barely speak English. And they've no idea what Twitter is. So, I got offered this gig by fax. So, let's go out with a bang. Let's have a laugh at your expense, shall we?
And did
Remember,
he ever?
they're just jokes. We're all going to die soon, and there's no sequel. So, yeah, remember that.
Yeah, they're laughing
but
now.
you all look lovely, all dolled up. You came here in your limos. I came here in a limo tonight, and the license plate was made by Felicity Huffman. So, no, shush.
Ooh, that didn't go
It's
over
her,
well.
it's her daughter I feel sorry for, okay? That must be the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to her. And her dad was in Wild Hogs. So...
Which sucked.
Lots of big celebrities here tonight. I mean, legends, icons, yeah? Look, at this table alone. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. But... Baby Yoda. Oh, that's Joe Pesci, sorry. I love you, man. Don't have me whacked. But tonight isn't just about the people in front of the camera. In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world. People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year... It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes... Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood Foreign Press are all very, very racist. So, 5th time. So, we were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had died, it wasn't diverse enough. It just, no. It was mostly white people, and I thought, nah, not on my watch. So, maybe next year. Let's see what happens. No one cares about movies anymore. No one goes to the cinema. No one really watches network TV.
Okay, let's stop this here just for a second. I got two guys on the phone. I got Jack Alexander on the phone, and I think I got Mike on the phone. Gentlemen, I think you're both on simultaneously. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well.
Jack. Tell me, Jack, I got to ask you, with all the fires that are going down there, the thing I wanted to... Let's tell you what. Let's get Afghanistan and Iraq out of the way first. Jack, any thoughts on Afghanistan, Iraq, the hit on Suleiman, and the missiles that dropped on Iraq today?
Look, I agree with Kaiser to the most part that we need to get the F out of there. But what I'd be doing before leaving was be gathering all the interested parties up to a giant arms expo and have the U.S. Air Force show them the power of something like a Moab and leave them with a warning. You know, show them what a Moab does, show them what some of these other big, heavy munitions do, and say, now, if we have to come back, you sons of bitches, this is what we're leading with, and we're starting with dropping one of these motherfuckers on your house. Watch how quickly they bury their heads in the sand and leave us alone. Only one of them trying to sneak past, and with a president like Trump that is more than capable of saying, "Yep, get rid of that son of a bitch," like Suleiman. They're going to say, "Oh shit, We don't have Barack Obama as the president of the United States anymore. This guy is actually serious. And that's the way to do it. And then just leave them to their own devices with that warning that, look, you interfere with Americans or American interests, we will just turn you to glass, and we won't be helping you restore the country. We will bomb you back into the Stone Age and leave you the hell there.
Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a B2 dropping, and this would be a great demo, dropping one of those big GBU 75s. Or I got that. Oh, that's dyslexia. Oh, by God, that's dyslexic. I knew I was. It came out tonight just there. Dropping a couple of GBU 57. Jesus. Those big mops, those massive ordnance penetrators, those bunker-busting bombs, because my information is that the command and control centers in Iran are really deep. And I'd love to see a demonstration of that. Mike, are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Any thoughts about Afghanistan, Iraq, about Suleiman, and the missiles that dropped down onto Iraq today?
Oh, yeah. The guy needed to go. I mean, I put it in the chat room earlier that a lot of the, and Kaiser, I think, disagree with me, but some of the missiles that have been periodically lobbed into Israel from Hezbollah came from, guess where?
Okay.
Guess where? It came from Iran, because that's another one of those groups. He was meeting with Hezbollah. He was meeting with a lot of these groups. I mean, look at what's going down in Yemen right now. The group that's going against the Yemen people are being were being led by this general that just got his head taken off.
Jack, you seem to be of the opinion that we need to get out of Iraq and Afghanistan. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, look, 20 years is way too long. If we are not going to fight the war to win it, why do we keep sending troops there? The whole point of war is to win it, and so the guys can then can come home. The problem that the United States has had for so long is too many damn lawyers in the E-ring of the Pentagon saying, oh, you can't do that. The optics of that might not look. I mean, back when we actually did fight wars, what did? We bombed the snot out of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, brought the Japanese to their knees. You want to end this war quickly? The next Hajj pilgrimage, drop a shit ton of cluster munitions on the Hajj pilgrimage and watch how quickly Islam wants to start talking peace when the world starts talking the language that they have been.
I'll go back and I'll recommend, and I've read these books probably 2 to 3 times each, cover to cover. And for anybody wanting to understand the Middle Eastern version of how Islam is practiced, definitely as opposed to the version of Islam that's practiced in Indonesia, there are 2 great books. One of them is The Strong Horse by Lee Smith. The Strong Horse by Lee Smith. And Lee Smith, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is also a journalist here in the United States. I can't think of who he writes for offhand. The second great book is The Closed Circle by David Price Jones. The Closed Circle by David Price Jones. If you want to understand, and you must understand how people think, because that it provides wonderful insight, kind of a predictor as to what individuals will do when they're motivated by religion. And I've been saying for quite some time, Islam is as Islam does, number one. Number two is people say it's just a religion. I'm to the point where I'm not saying it's almost not a religion. It is a cultural, societal, militaristic programming of how one's life is conducted, kind of masquerading as a religion. Specifically, I want to make sure that I emphasize this, as Islam is practiced by the Middle East, not by Muslims in Indonesia. And I want to make that very specific distinction between the two. Mike, Iraq, Afghanistan, do we stay? It's like, God, who sang that? Do I stay or do I go? Do you stay or do you go?
I think with Iraq, it's a little bit tougher because we have our embassy there now. So, and we spent, $1 billion on that embassy?
Well, look how much crap we've left behind from the Middle Eastern wars.
Yeah.
All those tanks, MRAPs, you name it, we left it behind because it was cheaper to leave it than it was to transport it back to the States.
But, we know that we should get out of Afghanistan because, look, Afghanistan has bankrupted others besides us.
Oh,
look at what it's done to Russia.
Afghanistan essentially led to the downfall of the Berlin Wall in 89-90. There's another great book. Oh, God, who is this? It's The Threat, and it's not. You can't even find it anymore. I had a hardback copy. It's called The Threat. I can't think of the author. But essentially what happened is there was a spending war between the United States and the Russians, and moving Russians into Afghanistan helped to make sure that the Berlin Wall fell. But we also bankrupted the Russians because we outspent them in the 70s and the 80s during the times of the Cold War. But Russians didn't stay in Afghanistan. They were smart enough to pack up their crap and leave. When you've got people whose country has been invaded, and all you do when you blow up anything in Afghanistan is blow up big rocks and make them into kind of slightly smaller rocks, except for the lithium, except for the poppies, etc. in Afghanistan. But I'm with you. Get the hell out of Afghanistan. Iraq, we're pretty embedded in Iraq, but that's okay. That's okay. I want to hear... Let me throw this out to the two of you guys. Good God. I only got 12 minutes left before the end of the show. I'm not going to get to a fraction of the stuff I wanted to get to. That's okay. That's fine. I'd rather talk to you guys. Tucker Carlson has been on a whirl about, my God, Trump hit this dude and the world is falling apart. And he's of the mind that he's hoping, I should say, that Trump's thought is he'll make a couple of plays here, but he made a big mistake in hitting Suleiman, a huge mistake in hitting Suleiman. And so that's what the talking heads are talking about these days. Huge mistake. All the Democrats, leftists, in the media, the American media maggots are saying, big mistake, big mistake. Some other people are saying, well, hang on, we don't know what the response is yet. Now, we could expect a response. We talked about the response with Jeff DUNETZ. So what do you guys think? Jack, we hit Suleiman. The window, as I indicated earlier, was really small. Because when you find out when two people that are bad guys are together at one time, you kind of got to strike while the iron is hot. Did we do the right thing, Jack, in hitting this dude?
Absolutely. I mean, look, first of all, he was silly enough to leave the protection of the territorial airspace of Iran. He went into an area where the United States has air supremacy, and he thought he was going to be safe. I'm sorry. Hillary Clinton's victims are safer than what he was going to be. The moment he crossed into Iraq, everyone, every special forces, every missile command, every drone pilot would have been scouring satellite images, waiting, okay, where is this son of a bitch landing? And, that's what happens. I mean, it'd be like George Soros returning to many countries in Europe. They all want his head on a platter. And as soon as he leaves the protection of the United States, his ass is grass.
I can't think of the name of the movie, but there's a movie that talks about, most of the drones are controlled from this base, from Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada.
In Las Vegas, yeah.
Not all, and it's what would that be? It's sort of northeast of Las Vegas.
It's North Las Vegas, yeah.
And it's Nellis Air Force Base, and all these little control cockpit, joystick Game Boy kind of things are in these big Connex boxes, air conditioned like hell, of course, because you're in the middle of the damn Nevada desert. But it's some guy or girl, some gal, maybe, who knows, that decided that this looks really good, and I've been given a green light, and bye-bye. I think it was the right thing to do, and it was, you want to talk about proportional? Killing people at a wedding, not quite so proportional. Being the drone king that Obama was, not quite so proportional. Killing a couple of Russians in Syria, dropping drones or dropping cruise missiles and stopping, pretty proportional. Oh, and Kaiser in chat says, the CIA drones are controlled from there. Well, they share the military and CIA drones. The controllers basically do what they're tasked with doing.
But see, the one thing they haven't really, the left hasn't really highlighted this is, where was the collateral damage? You look at a lot of Obama's airstrikes and how much collateral damage there was.
Yes.
And, let's not get into the whole, Congress didn't authorize this horseshit, because as far as I understand, the Constitution is again, once he left the safety of Iran and crossed into an American theater, the Congress has already given the president the power to order those strikes because he came into U.S.-occupied airspace. So he already had congressional approval because I know the president is allowed to deploy troops for, 90 days without congressional approval. We've been there for 20 damn years. They've got congressional approval to be there and to take action. So as soon as that happened, but then, they waited until they got these two guys alone. They were the only two casualties, and it was a precision strike. Barack Obama didn't give a rat's ring about how many civilians were injured in his strikes, just so he could get a legacy. The problem is his tactic meant that, with all that collateral damage, he was helping to recruit for these terrorist organizations because of the collateral damage.
I just got sent this article by Jeff DUNETZ. This is from the Wall Street Journal, and it just came out about, let me see if I can find the time on this, a couple of hours ago. This is very interesting, and then I'd like your input on this. The headline from the Wall Street Journal is, Ukraine-bound Boeing 737 crashes in Iran after takeoff. Plane carrying 176 passengers and crew crashes after taking off from Tehran's main airport. At this point, no one is saying anything about bombs, missiles, etc. A Ukraine International Airlines jetliner crashed shortly after takeoff from Tehran on Wednesday. Well, today, it's Wednesday then. It's still Tuesday here in where I am on the left coast. With 176 passengers and crew members on board, according to Iranian state television, there were no survivors. The Boeing 737-800 single-aisle jet crashed after departing the Iranian's capital, Imam Khomeini International Airport, en route to Kiev in Ukraine. All the passengers have died, said the head of Iran's emergency medical services. Bodies are being collected by the relief team to transfer to the coroner as soon as possible. I don't know exactly how far this got because I don't see anything. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a map. Let me look here at this map. It looks, according to the map, that the airport is southwest of Tehran. And it appears as though the site of the crash is northeast of the airport, and it doesn't look like it's more than maybe a mile, maybe 2 miles away. So Iranian media is already saying the crash was due to a technical fault without explaining how they reached that conclusion. So the question is that another 737 problem or issue, or are we going to find out later that somehow this is tied into anything that it was involved in with a missile, surface-to-air missile, what would be the equivalent of whatever the equivalent is of our M47 Dragon. So I'm curious. I'm really curious to see where that article, where that incident is going to go. Mike, finally, we're going to have to wrap it up here. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
My first question was who on that flight had information about Hillary Clinton? That'd be my first response.
It's funny you should mention that, because in chat, Kaiser says, I'd love to see the plane's manifest and find out who was on that plane. Isn't that interesting?
But when it comes to the 737 thing, it was a Dash 800, not one of the MAX 8s.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't a MAX.
It has a completely different ATARS system, and from the that's been causing the problems with the. Admittedly, the whole thing with the MAX 8s has tarnished the reputation of the 737s in general. But then again, I mean, Nancy Pelosi owns one, so that's totally tarnished the reputation of the 737 anyway. But
well, are you talking about the H word? Are you talking about the H word? Hope. There's hope and change. Maybe there's hope in change.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to go there.
In change.
You don't have to go there.
Yeah.
So, final word to you guys. What do you think, Jack and Mike, because I'm going to have to bomb out of here in about 60 seconds. What does tomorrow look like in D.C.? I know it's tomorrow today already in D.C., but what do you think Trump may end up doing? He made no statement last night. He's probably going to make a statement today. I believe there will be a reaction. He will have a reaction to this. What do you guys think that might be?
Well, according to what he has said, in terms of his statements, and his statements going to the Congress, he's going to make most of his statements on Twitter. So I'll be paying attention to his Twitter feed, and that's going to piss him off even more if he does it that way, But that's what I expect. And look, as far as what Nancy Pelosi's doing with the whole thing, with the whole not transmitting these things, it's a political calculation. Now, the last time a Democrat tried to make a political calculation, it blew up in their face when Harry Reid tried to blow up the Senate,
Yeah, that's not going to play well. Final thoughts, Jack.
And I think this is also tactical as well. I mean, one problem that Obama had, he always telegraphed the operations we had. It was a wonder he actually managed to kill any terrorists with these strikes. They're wondering why we didn't consult with Congress. Well, Ilhan Omar, the woman that puts the infidelity between the legs of the infidel, and Rashida Tlaib is a good reason why Congress was never consulted. But on the other hand, he's not going to telegraph what he's doing, because if there are other targets, and he's got something like 50 or 60 other targets that he has in mind to strike very quickly, he doesn't want to telegraph anything. So I would not be surprised if tomorrow we just get a Twitter, which is a giant FU to the Ayatollah and or the Iranian regime, or we actually hear that there have been more strikes. I wouldn't be surprised either way. And the reason why he's being quiet is that this is all tactical. He doesn't want to telegraph what's going on.
The funny thing is, isn't that weird? He actually said so when he was running for president, that I'm not going to telegraph all of my actions, because why would I? And that was one of the responses that he gave to people during the presidential debates that pissed off the people that were asking those questions. I kind of love that. So, Jack, thank you very much. And Mike, thank you very much. Yep. Thanks tonight to Jeff DUNETZ for being here in the first hour. Programming note, allegedly there will be a Sackhead show tomorrow, Wednesday night, and I'm not sure who I'm going to have on the show on Thursday. And with that...
Monsieur! I can walk!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Also by the Allahu Snack Bar, a little bit of Mohammed in every bite. Tiaras by My Little Pony.
Please say hello to the folks.
Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. Thanks to Jeff. Thanks to everybody who called in tonight. Thanks to everybody for being in chat. Thanks to everybody listening to me who does so in podcast. Also to all the American truckers, you make America great and you keep it rolling. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day or night to listen to me. I greatly appreciate it. Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real chat show tomorrow night. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good
night, Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Now you know the rest of the story.
That's all, folks.